Welcome to day 5 of This Will Not Kill You. I really hope that you have invested in yourself in the first 4 days. We are now stepping beyond the halfway mark. With any journey, I believe there is a preparation phase. And simply by setting an intention to set out on a path, I believe those pieces start to fall into place. I'm not sure if in deciding to do this course, if you felt things start to shift in your world. But when we approach what we know to be a threshold, often really strange things start to happen. People might contact us out of nowhere, cars might break down, all these sort of shifts can happen. And I know of this because I grew up with my dad, who was a counselor, and just witnessed all of the resistances and the shifts that would happen when people would decide to actually do something about shifting their reality, changing who they were. So this day, day 5, for me marks a day of stepping out. It's time to knock on our shell and say, okay, it's time to come out to play now. If you need to revisit some of the initial days, if you really need to look at the self, if you really need to activate that creative energy, if you need to allow yourself in the safety of your own home or in your own sanctuary to experiment with being ugly, experiment with being beautiful. If you really want to feel once more what it is to surrender and to not have to protect and to actually trust what's beyond you, really make sure you feel you've completed those evolutions, so that in day 5, when we step out, we feel intact, we feel like we've got our own back, so we can actually then come to face with others. The theme for today is crazy. How many times in history have the innovators, the pioneers, the visionaries be labeled crazy? How many times have intuitive, deep-feeling, empathetic women been labeled crazy? How many times have heretics or people who question the norms been put in straitjackets and medicated, been squashed down and stamped out with the label crazy? How many times has one reality that's quite normal, when placed in a new situation where it juxtaposes what the new agreement is in that particular circle of friends or that particular culture or that particular time and place, being rejected once again as crazy? It's a very easy word to wield. It's a very easy hammer to throw, to simply jettison or cut off anything which doesn't quite fit in. And too often we quiet that inner voice when it doesn't quite match what has already been established beyond us. So today is a day to directly go and intentionally do that, to disrupt, to juxtapose, to interject. So I'd like you to look at your area of focus, and having observed this area, look at the norms. And I would like you to exactly invert one of those and bring it to that space. Challenge those present simply by flipping on its head. There's a really interesting book called Disrupt, and they looked at business analogies. And too often we look at stereotypes or tried and tested methods and we follow them, but when we flip them on their heads, they can be real breakthroughs. There's a great example whereby these people who were selling socks asked, what are socks? Well, they are foot coverings sold in pairs, and often they match. So if you just invert that, they're not sold in pairs, and none of them match. So this company started to sell socks in groups of 3s, and none of them matched each other. And they became really popular, and their particular demographic was teenage girls. That's their avatar who they were selling to. But it's just such a simple method. Just flip things on their head, ask what it is not, and then say, why not? Sometimes it can be scary, but I'm not sure if you've seen that YouTube video where it's at a summer music festival and one guy goes and starts dancing on the hill alone. It just takes that second person to join them. And then soon it becomes a movement, and then everyone's running down. But we're really looking for that little bit of crazy, basically to prove that we're not crazy, because maybe we thought that too. What's that other quote? Something about those who were dancing were called crazy by those who couldn't hear the music. So dance. Beautiful, beautiful visionaries and freaks. Look at what is and flip it on its head and ask why not, and be willing to get a few strange stares. The second part of crazy is called no training. So with no training, you actually go out and try and get a no. And I've done this before, and I was really interested to see how many yeses people gave us. So we would go up, and one of the guys who were training with us went up and said, I don't have anywhere to stay. Can I stay at your place tonight? And the person was a bit taken aback. He's like, I guess so, probably just for one night and then we'll see. And they actually got an invitation to stay at the person's house. Another one of my friends stopped this guy walking down the street and said, hey, I'm just doing some gardening at my place. Could you just come over and help me with that? And they were up for it. Another person I walked up to, I said, can I write something on your phone to one of your friends? And they actually gave me their phone, and I was able to send a text message to one of their friends. And I said that I had an idea for a business idea that I wanted to jam out with them, and then just kind of left a new ripple in it. I don't know what the response was. I gave the phone back to them. But the point being, you'll be surprised at what people will say yes to. But the point is, that's, for this game, a failure. You actually have to get a no. It could be something simple like, hi, can I touch your hair? But what I would like to do is actually propose things that if the person did say yes, they might actually be really great. It could be something along the lines of your business or your creative pursuits or someone in your industry that you really wanted to collaborate with. Who knows what it is? The point being, you're doing no training. And the great thing about this is often the rejection and the no is what we fear. So we're directly stepping into the face of our fear and going for that so that we reduce the sensitivity of that button. So, no training. Go out and get some no's, and I'd love to hear back what probably you end up getting a few yeses to. Looking at our Keystone challenge for today, it's create. And one of the reasons I love this juxtaposition of crazy and create is that to be a true author, we often have to birth something new into the world that has not been seen before and therefore doesn't make sense to people, i.e. is crazy. So what I'd love you to do is to create something, could be anything, and get people to agree and step in with you, because that's the key thing. A reality is a reality when a few people agree it is so. For example, money. If you've got one person walking around with a handful of buttons saying, this is worth a lot, and that person's the only person, the money's worth nothing. The buttons don't mean anything. But as soon as you get a few people buying in and say, yeah, cool, if you give me 3 buttons, I'll give you a burger, and the other person says, all right, cool, well, you can come on this ride, all of a sudden, the reality is that the buttons are worth something. So the creation challenge is to author a thing, anything. You could have a little jam session, you could make a little game where people need to participate, you could get people to hold hands in a circle. It really doesn't matter what the thing is, but the point is you author a particular idea, and you need to get at least 2 or more people to agree to participate and step in to make that thing real. I hope there are beautiful edges found and exceeded today. This is a day when you're going to step out beyond the inner training realm of your personal dojo, and you're going to start to interact with the greater world beyond you. This is really where the lessons come and really where that relief sets in. Up until now, it's been personal practices, and they can be sort of theoretical and emotional. But this is the proving ground where we show ourselves through direct lived experience that we will not die. When we go into a place, we disrupt things, we engage with strangers, we propose our ideas, and we see it through to a point where people step in with us. Huge respect for the steps you're taking on this week. It's time to step out and create your crazy genius.